My name is Destiny Bilges. I am 18 years old and I am a visual arts student here at Perpich. Art is important because stories are important, and empathy and sympathy and understanding other people is crucial in the world we live in today. You can have a conversation with somebody, and a lot of times there's these walls and there's these guards and there's this social etiquette that you have to filter yourself through. But a lot of times with art and with expression, you're getting a raw version of that person's story and that person's opinion, and it really helps us to grow and to learn from each other. Growing up, my mom was 18 when she had me. She turned 18 2 weeks before my birth, and my dad was 21. I was a very independent kid, so I would color and I would do things with the resources I had, but for my parents, there wasn't much support in that aspect. They're just trying to kind of figure their lives out. When my parents separated and I didn't see my dad for 6 years, my mom was still really supportive of me, and my stepdad was. And then after my dad re-entered my life, my stepmom is an artist, so she was really supportive. And he's always been a little hesitant and skeptical of making a living doing art, but I think seeing her do it successfully has opened his eyes a lot, and he's been really supportive in that sense. I think me getting a job at the MIA when I was in between my freshman and sophomore year in high school really opened my mom's eyes up to the capabilities I had working in the art world. The fact that I was working at such a nice museum and it was my second job ever. So I really, really like art because I like the act of creating it and I like doing it with other people. So there's that aspect of it. I've always thought it was a really important tool, and I like giving people the resources to create things with me. But then within my own personal art, I think it's very self-reflective. I've used it as a tool to build a lot of self-confidence. I know last year when I first started at Perpich, I did a lot of stuff on body work, and having had an eating disorder when I was in early high school, I think that I reflected on that a lot through my art, and that helped me work through it. A lot of times the act of creation helps with my anxiety and things like that too. I might not produce something that's really nice, but having had the access to doing 3D work here, I'd never done 3D work prior to this with the little bit of art I did, and that really helped with honing in. And if I ever had a really stressful day or something, just doing clay stuff helped a lot with calming myself down and focusing in. My story with Perpich is it's not a traditional one. I didn't really know anything about Perpich until the week I applied, and I had a really difficult time at my old school. South was not the place for me. I was sitting in my room and I was on Facebook, and I was having one of those teen angst filled moments where I was just reading posts and being emo, and I decided that I really hated my life at South, and I just didn't like it, and I didn't feel like I had creative outlets. And somebody on my timeline had posted about how second wave applications to Perpich had been extended for another week, and that they were due the following Friday. So I spent the next 4 hours researching what Perpich was and what the application process was like, and I stayed up and I wrote an essay, and then I spent a week drawing in my English class and putting together what I had and getting a teacher's recommendation, and I applied. I walked in and I'd never been to a school with so much art, and I was so nervous. And there was 4 people in my admissions review, and one of them came from Edina High School and had this really nice portfolio and all these oil paintings they had done in AP art. And I came in with my notebook sketches and things I made in English, and I sat down and we looked at my art, and it was really scary, but it was also okay because I remember the faculty were really nice about it. Pat Benincasa was one of my people, and she was like, you don't have to worry, this school is more about learning and giving you the opportunity to grow. You don't have to be perfect now, it's totally okay. Having a new kid experience in the middle of your high school career is very, very odd. I remember it was really nice outside, and everything had this airy effect, and of course it wore off a few weeks later, but being around all these new faces and all of this art, and having put up a show my first week here, it gave me hope. It was a really good experience my first week. having time to make art built into my schedule that I have to like follow has really helped with developing my practice, because I'm very sporadic and I usually end up committing to 20 things at a time, and having time to sit and focus in on making things has been really, really helpful. The faculty, like having access to our teachers has been amazing. And then supply-wise, like I just had a show this weekend, and a lot of the lighting and a lot of the easels and a lot of the supplies I used were from Perpich, and I got to borrow them because the faculty trusts me, and it was a cool experience. I don't think Perpich has expanded my ideas of what I can do in the art world. I think that the students have, to be honest. Like the amount of crazy ass things the students are accomplishing in their free time and their time here has opened my eyes to the possibilities. The fact that we have an artist working that's an alumni come in every week and share with us what they're doing has opened my eyes. Before coming to Perpich, it was harder. Like, you know, you weren't surrounded by all these people. I didn't know all of these adults that were making livings doing art. The first time I really looked at my art and was like, I did this, I'm an artist, was my final show at Perpich last year. It took 3 shows to get it, but I had spent a ton of time working. I'd had access to all the like fundamental classes, so I knew a little bit more of what I was doing, and I'd started to develop concept art. Like that's when I started to do the body stuff and the portraiture, and seeing my work up at that gallery, I felt really, really accomplished. And then following that, like since I became an upperclassman and I kind of had my footing down and it wasn't new anymore, this year I've gotten to do a lot of things outside of Perpich with Perpich people, with other artists that are young in the community, and that has really helped establish it. I have another show coming up next weekend and it's called Unfiltered, and getting to plan that is really, really exciting and validating. It's less things I do at Perpich now besides that first show, and more things that I get to do outside of Perpich because of the people I've met here. I volunteer for my stepmom's artist collective that she just founded this year with another local artist, Greta McLean, and they do murals. So I get to help with big install community murals, and I've been doing it since I was in 8th grade. We have these giant community art making activities where everybody comes in and everybody gets a paintbrush and they're taught how to paint, and it's essentially this really large paint by numbers thing. And I've seen it in multiple communities where people will come up and they'll be like, I don't paint, I'm not an artist, like I can't do this. And then they sit down for a few hours and they're laughing and they're painting with other people, and it just like, it's such an amazing platform to build community. Like it truly is. And I think that really exposed me to my love for the intersections of community and of art. I also work for a blog, and they're called Shine On, but we're transitioning into something called the New Society, and it's a group of 4 different femmes, and we're trying to launch a blog and a platform to expose more people to other femmes in the Minneapolis area making art and doing really cool things. There's always room for more support, always, always, always. Like you have sometimes you'll have really well-established, predominantly white galleries do like one show with one POC or one femme or one trans person, and they like really pat themselves on their backs and they're like, we did it, we're good. But there's so much more. There's so many like young people and like with different intersections of identity that are already doing things, and to support each other in our art is really important.